What's up, everyone? Darkscream217 here, and I'm bringing back an old classic that I used to do a couple years ago. A couple years ago, I used to do a thing called Friday Night Vlogs where I do a couple of vlogs on several different subjects, and I would upload them all at once onto YouTube. Um, since Friday night has came and passed by the time this video was recorded and uploaded, I won't call it that. I don't know if I have a new catchy topic for these mini vlogs I'm doing. And the reason why I'm doing these is because I don't want people to think I've went on another off-notice hiatus again. So I'm just going to see if I could talk about some random topics about my experiences or give in my two thoughts into some other, subjects and stuff. Problem is, though, is that the reason why I stopped doing these vlogs in the first place is because I was slowly running out of stuff to talk about, really. And every time I try to come up with topics, I would just, I didn't think I would have enough for that would warrant to make a video, or much less a series of videos. However, I hope to get 3 out today. So that way you guys will have something to watch, comment, feedback, and like I said, I usually like to talk about, trivial stuff like video games and anime and stuff. With that said, let's start with our first topic. Now, for those of you who may or may not know already, I do own a PlayStation Vita, which is a handheld. And yes, if you've been paying attention to the last, my Persona vlogs, I did purchase the Vita for Persona 4 Golden. Was it worth it? Abso-freaking-lutely. But I'm not going to talk about Persona 4 Golden because I want to save that for a topic discussion that hopefully I'll be able to do with Magus and someone else in his group. We just have to, schedule at the right time. I'll give you my quick little thoughts on Persona 4 Golden. I personally think it's the game of the year. But let's talk about my second favorite game on the Vita. One I probably would never heard of if an old buddy of college of mine didn't, bring this up to me. My second favorite game on the PlayStation Vita is Zero Escape: Virtue's Last Reward. This was something a friend of mine recommended to me, told me a little bit about it. I didn't really think much about the game until I downloaded the demo and gave it a try, and I thought, this could be a pretty interesting game, so I went over to the GameStop, picked it up, played it, and it's officially my second favorite game on the PS Vita to date. Virtue's Last Reward is a continuation of another game called 999, 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors. I haven't played that game yet because it's actually an exclusive to the 3DS. But Virtue's Last Reward is not only for the 3DS, but as I mentioned before, it's on the PS Vita. Alright, the story is this. You play as a college student named Sigma who got abducted on December 25th, 2028, and got sent to a mysterious warehouse. He, along with 8 other people, are trapped in this bizarre warehouse building, and some creepy digital rabbit computer calls himself Zero the Third said that they're all trapped in a special game project called the Nonary Gang. Their objective is that they have watches. They have little bracelets with with some digital numbers on them, and they all have they're all colored differently. And on the bottom of it, they say pair or solo, and they all have the number 3 as a default. Their objective is to get all of 9 points, so they can use those 9 points to open the number 9 door and escape. How do they get those points? Well, they have to go find the room. They have to go into individual color-coded doors, chromatic doors, depending on who their teammates are supposed to be and who their complementary color is to open those doors. And they have to find a couple of key cards so they can open the AB gates. And this is where things get a little interesting. They have to pick to whether they should ally with their opponent, which is usually the solo or the pair that you have to go against, the complementary color. And they're supposed to choose whether or not to ally with the person or betray with the person. If both people choose ally, they gain 2 points. So if they got 3 and they both ally, they get 5 points. If one of them chooses Betray while the other one chooses Ally, the guy who betrays actually gets 3 points, while the person who chose Ally getting betrayed loses 2 points. So the person getting betrayed gets 1 BP, the person or people who ally get 6 BP. If both people choose Betray, they gain nothing. Their number's still the same. Now, if their BP hits 0, the bracelets actually have a couple drugs in them that will instantly kill them. One of them's an Aztec called Soboro Beta, the other one's Turbo Kyurem, which supposedly finishes them off. So I thought that was a little interesting aspect of the game, because it makes you, makes you a little uneasy with the people who are with you trapped in this game. Should you trust them? Can you trust them? Or should you betray them and try to look out for yourself? I really love that element in the game a lot. Also, I need to mention the genre. It's actually 2 different types of games. It's a visual novel. Yeah, I know. I'll get on that a little later. And the second part of the game, where you have to do the escape routes, they're actually like puzzle games, like your classic point-and-click mouse type puzzle games, where you have to collect items, put them in certain areas, and then solve little mini-puzzles to gain different items. Basically, all this builds up to finding a passcode to get the safe, to open, to find the key, to get out of the door, as well as get a few other items like the AB cards and some extra paper information stuff. There's actually a quick 12-minute OVA kind of advertising the game. It doesn't give out too heavy spoilers. The OVA is obviously meant to be as like a glorified trailer for the game. But there's an OVA that Axis, I think that's the publishing company, has on their YouTube channel, and I'll post a link in the description below for you guys to watch. Now, I'm not going to give away, talk about much more. There's one thing I want to talk about in this game, because I don't want to, spoil it too much for you. The purpose of this video was basically, hopefully you guys would give this game a chance or whatever, and explain why I enjoyed it so much. But I'm not even going to talk about each of the individual characters, but I'll tell you, I do have 2 favorites. And I'm not going to tell you which ones are those, because they may be in themselves obvious spoilers. But one major thing I do like about this game, there's time travel elements on its gameplay. Now, like a lot of visual novels, there's a little flow chart showing you what possible routes you can take, and Virtue's Last Reward has that. The routes break depending on which chromatic door you choose, and should you choose to ally or betray your opponent. And there's a bunch of routes. There's even some extra hidden ones that open up later in the game. But what's really interesting is that the game will actually lock you out in the middle of the routes by slapping a to be continued on there. So you're like, well, I can't go any further. What makes this interesting is that when you take other routes and reveal some new information about the game's story and plot, as well as you discover new things, it would actually, you can actually backtrack to that previously locked out route. You could tell if it's unlocked too, because in the visual novel they show like a different pictures depending on your flowchart. They would have little black closed books, meaning you can't go any further. But if they're green and the books look open, that means you have some new information that will help you progress through that previous route you were locked out of. And they actually use, and the time travel thing is like a very major theme in this game too. I thought that was like one of the neatest features I've ever seen in a visual novel. Yeah. So, to wrap this up, if you like puzzle games and you like, visual novel games, if you own a 3DS or a PS Vita, give the game a try. I highly recommend it. Also, for the 3DS, I don't know much about 999, but I guess I could recommend that one too if you haven't tried that out. Though Virtue's Last Reward, according to most fans, say this game is a lot better because they put a lot more elements and stuff, and the scope of the story is a lot bigger too. So yeah, I highly recommend this game. Even if you're not much of a fan of visual novels, I wasn't a huge fan of visual novels, but this game really did change my perspective in that. I was definitely engaged in the story and the people in the game too. Um, like I said, it's like my second favorite game on the PlayStation Vita, next to Persona 4 Golden. So I do give this a little bit of a high recommendation. Um, so yeah, that's all I got to say about Virtue's Last Reward. Now to move on to other topics.